Damn, Perk did this?
I don't need no one to save me. I was born to be the greatest. All that time in that basement, all that time isn't wasted. Rapping getting faded. I just wanna tell my mom that I made it. Just wanna be the topic of the conversation. Used to rock the gold plated. Now I'm wearing gold chains like I'm famous.
My next question is that when you started giving out the advice, what was like the key things that that guys would say, like, how can you help me? The reason why I ask that is because, like, some guys don't realize, like, all you have to do is, like, say hi and be, and if you be funny, and or you could be funny or just like entertaining. But also, one of the key things, and I don't want to take your answer from you,
Mhm.
but a lot of guys, like, they don't know how to listen.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's actually one of the points I was gonna say.
Right.
So it's funny. It's two things, right?
Hmm.
I want to say the first thing first, though.
Yeah.
Learning at a young age is a blessing and a curse. Good thing I was still like focused on other stuff, but like from like 23 to at least 25, I was only focused on the on the woman. So like I was
Hmm.
destroying my life, but I was good in the books and always smart financially,
Hmm.
so it didn't affect me. But I could see how like that could have took over my life really quickly. But
Right.
when it comes to what guys mainly come from, so it's two things on YouTube. What actually gives me traction is like how to text girls. So guys are trying to figure out how to text girls because the because in today's generation, most women are on social media and they're always texting. And a lot
Mm.
of guys would get to the point where like they'll set up a date, she'll flake, or they don't know how to keep a conversation, or they don't know what to text a girl, or even on date naps, they don't know what openers to use, and they
Mm.
don't know how to get her number, like keep the conversation going to a point where we get a number, or they just simply hate texting. So that's one thing that they come to me online. But then when it
Right.
comes to actually like the guys I coach, it's
Mhm.
actually for just approaching anything. As you said, like it's funny. I was working with a client. He's actually like 28, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is, I get them to record themselves and I listen to conversation. I'm sitting there, I'm like, bro, you're funny, right? But yo, you've literally been talking for 90% of the conversation. She's only said her name and you're over here chatting, talking, talking. I'm like, bro, listen to yourself. And he's like, oh my God. And it's like, it's simple stuff like that that guys mess up. They just talk, talk, talk. They talk themselves out of the box.
Right. Right. That's very true. That's very true because I like what one of my friends, like, like, if you ask him what he does, and he has an important job and things like that, and he's very proud of it, and he's worked hard, so I get it. But it's like, dude, like, you were talking for, like, at least a good 5 minutes, and you really want to kind of give, like, that elevator speech, or like maybe an enhanced elevator speech, maybe for like no more than 2 minutes, so this way you're still keeping a level of engagement, because it has to be a back and forth. But the thing about it is that typically, when the woman is dominating the conversation, that means that she's actually interested in what, she's actually interested that you're listening to what she has to say.
Mhm. Exactly. I completely agree. Guys need to just learn how to shut shut the hell up. And it's funny.
Yeah.
The one I learned this very early on that the best conversation someone can have with you is when they're talking about themselves. So that's one principle I've literally just used with my whole life. Just get them talking about themselves all day, and it's to a
Mhm.
point where like if they don't ask me a question about myself, I'll let you talk because that's how you actually build connection with people. People, if you talk about yourself all day, people gonna look at you like you're bragging all day, and
Right.
that's the
Right.
reality.
Right.
I,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and then
No,
to touch on.
that's
Oh,
yeah, my fault. Go ahead.
and then to touch on another point,
Yeah.
another big thing that I see that men struggle with a lot too is approach anxiety. Like guys are scared to go up and talk to a girl. I'm not gonna lie, in this social media era, they're promoting not to go up and approach women, and with people being locked down is in the house, people aren't talking as much,
Right.
right? And even I've seen it overseas too. Like some of the guys I know who are doing better overseas versus some of the guys who I know aren't. He simply told me they're approaching more. They're simply approaching more.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I kind of want to circle back into, as you mentioned, like with today's era, like, do you believe that the social media market has has put kind of a hindrance or like cold approach? The only reason why I say that is because I guess I'm kind of like a hybrid with the social media era, but like when I was in my teens, like like we only had AOL Instant Messenger and Yahoo Messenger, and I guess like Black Planet came out later. But it wasn't like Instagram where like you could really find, like, a guy could find a woman down the street. You may be able to find her in the same state, but she may live like an hour or so away. You know what I mean? So like you could find someone that lives like, like 10 minutes down the block.
Mhm.
So my question to you is that do you think that social media has put a hindrance on cold approach?
Oof. Yes and no. Yes and no.
Okay, so
So no, okay,
defend
I
both.
can go on. I can go on. So I can. The thing is, yes, social media is put on hindrance. Most likely, you're probably going to get a better quality woman online than you would going to a nightclub and meeting a girl, right? Because them girls are just going there to reject, reject, reject. But back in the day, a few years ago, since social media wasn't that big, you could probably still get a good looking woman at the nightclub. But social media definitely took off, and so it's not that case. But then when it comes to like meeting women during the daytime, since so little guys are doing it, most women are gonna be receptive to it. So yes and no, women aren't getting it done as much. So guys, if you still go out and approach girls, you're still going to have some success. But another thing I want to touch on is that social media is a blessing and a curse. Like even in business, right? It's a
Yep.
blessing and a curse, right? If you're not a business that has social media in today's society, you're not going to survive as a business. You're basically AI online Instagram is taking over, right? And the same thing with dating.
Mhm.
Nowadays, you have to have a good Instagram profile. Nowadays, you have to have a good Tinder profile. Nowadays, you have to have a good online profile, right? And the thing is, if you able to create a good one, you're going to be at the top. You're going to be a monopoly. So like that's why when I start meeting with clients, right, the first thing I do is make sure to get them a good photographer so they take pictures. So like I think online dating is necessary, and if you don't try and utilize online dating, or if you don't try and utilize online, just focus on simply code approach, it's like a business only focusing on getting foot traffic and not doing much marketing online. So you have to do both.
Okay. So let's go back to the professional pictures,
Hmm.
right? Now, I do agree that like professional pictures actually helps
Hmm.
because like it shows that like you're about something. Like if you have like an old picture and like the picture's kind of like grainy and stuff, and it's like, oh man, like this guy may be like out of date, you know what I mean? So like if you have like a professional picture, or if you have like a really good like camera phone, where it's like it's not pixelated, you know what I mean? Like it'll work out fine. So
Hmm.
I do agree with that. And um I could see that like especially when I'm looking at a woman's profile, like whether it be on Instagram or whatever, right? Like I realized that like her professional pictures get more likes than like her regular photos. And I think and I believe it's probably the same way for guys. I mean, you would have to tell me since you're the coach.
Hmm. Oh, yes, yes, for sure.
Oh,
It's
okay.
definitely the same. It's definitely say the guys' professional photos will
Right.
definitely always get more likes.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was thinking about it because I knew a girl, right? She never wanted to have high quality photos on her dating app, and she never wanted to show her like body or good features because she knows that guys are just gonna want her for that. So she
Yeah.
tried to dumb down her photos, make her photos look more ugly than they really are, in hopes of
Mhm.
a guy taking her for how she really is. But I think a guy cannot have that same strategy. A guy
No.
has to, yeah, a guy has to,
No. No.
exactly.
Definitely, definitely not. Definitely not. Because I mean, and I, and I'm not saying I would want a woman to do this, but a woman could go to the supermarket with like pajamas and you know pajamas or whatever, and like a guy is gonna talk to her. But if a guy comes in the supermarket with like pajamas, like it's like, oh man, this dude ain't got no job. He just rolled out of bed. Like, what's going on with him? You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
the guy's not thinking that. He's just like, man, like she's still attractive. I'll still like approach her, right?
Hmm.
So let's kind of take this conversation abroad a little bit, right? And so you mentioned like more guys are cold approaching abroad, and I know that you traveled abroad. I know well, you and I've had conversations, but you've mentioned Brazil as of right now is your favorite country to travel to. Is that correct?
Hell yeah,
Yeah,
I love Brazil.
and you're going back there. When are you going back?
I'm going there Memorial Day weekend, so I'm gonna be in
Oh,
Rio.
right,
Yeah.
right in May. Okay, okay, yeah, man. I gotta link you up with my homegirl Hanada. She does like
Oh,
tours and stuff.
oh, for
Yeah,
real,
she's
I'll
yeah,
pull
she's a
up there.
content creator too.
Oh shit, that would be dope. Maybe we can do a vlog type video.
Yeah,
Let's see.
absolutely, absolutely. She's really cool, man. She's really really cool. I'll send you her link so this way you can reach out to her. But yeah, just tell her Kings and Dreams told you about her. But my
Uh,
question to you was, or is rather, um excuse me, you said cold approach, more guys are cold approaching overseas. Why do you think that is?
mm. So I definitely think more guys are code approaching overseas because simply like pre-selection is a big thing when it comes to dating. So
Hmm.
for you guys who don't know what pre-selection is that when a girl already finds you attractive or a girl already finds you higher value. So like let's say you're in a major city like Miami, I'm in DC, Los Angeles, right? When you go approach a woman, she's looking specifically just at your straight up looks or your first 3 seconds, your interaction, how confident you are. But when you go overseas, it's like you kind of already have that gringo card. So you're already put in a higher status, a higher class. So she's going to be way more receptive. And also, you're foreign. You don't look like the people there necessarily. So she's definitely going to be way more receptive. Okay. So that's why I think guys are approaching because one, they're away from home. So they have
Right,
nothing to lose. And then two, the women are way more receptive. But the thing is, there's a huge language barrier, but they're still gonna be way more receptive. Like, let's say you're American and someone had a language barrier with you, the girl's gonna reject you. But in
right,
Brazil, they're not gonna reject you. They'll still try and figure out what you're trying to say, but it's still a whole different culture. That's probably why.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think that they're more like approachable and more like friendly. And I don't want to say like that women in the states aren't friendly. That's not what I want to say. But I will say that from my perspective, the women that I've come across overseas, particularly even in the West Indies and also in Latin America, they seem to have more patience, right?
Mhm.
So like if you're trying to say something and maybe they may not like understand, but you're trying to make an attempt to have a conversation, they're more willing to listen. Like where like here in the States, they're like, what are you trying to say? Like, like I gotta go. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially let's say New York, right? Their first reaction is just to reject you because everyone's stopping you so much. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I do think one thing though, I think you still have to approach women overseas because as I said earlier, there's two guys I knew that were living in Bahia. I was asking him like, how come you weren't getting that many girls? He's like, I'm just not approaching like the other guys. And he said simply you still have to approach because he said he wasn't meeting them through social circle like that. So like you still have to have the skills of approaching, I believe.
But yeah, I definitely believe that. I think no matter where you are in the world, this is my personal opinion, and some people may be younger than me. So I just turned 38. Just turned 38 in February. Well, early February, and so for me, I would say that um, cold approach is better. I personally have had more success with that.
Mhm.
I mean, I've had success online too. I'm not gonna say that, but like typically, I guess like for me, cold approaching is just it's just something that like it comes super like natural to me because I've had to do it where I didn't have an Instagram, I didn't have a Facebook, I didn't have a Bumble or a Tinder or I don't know, you're the dating app guru, but you know what I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have like all of these platforms to lean on, so I had to kind of lead with my with my mouthpiece, if you will.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And also I'm not a pretty boy, but hey, listen, I can compete, man. I can compete. So you know what I mean?